I'm here. And today I have, check it out, we have the usual, we have Rena, which should be Greg, my folder. And we also have Greg, which I can't, where's Greg? Oh no, I don't know. I screwed it up. Anyway, all three of us are here together. And I gotta, oh, shoot. Hold on. There we go. So we have Rena, Sash, Jessica here. Hey guys. And let's get everybody to introduce themselves. So I am Pip. I run a digital marketing agency over on Vancouver Island where we help people with search and social. And today we're talking about social media strategy for businesses. And right beside me is, let's go with Greg and then Rena.
Hey everyone, it's Greg, of course, from the group. I own and run Original 72 Creative, and we're a full-service website, graphic design, and digital marketing agency in Vancouver.
Greg, I'm not. Oh, Rena. Look who we got here. Look who we got. Woo!
Thanks, Pip. My name is Rena Little. I have a little company called Little Works Indie Media, and we mostly focus on social and sites, but we also do a lot of the other things that go with social and sites.
I like that. A little company called Little Works.
I can hardly, resist saying that every time.
Love your last name, actually. We have some other people joining us, so we are sharing from my page into the group and then onto Rena's page. So if you're making comments, we don't want to miss them, but it might happen. Phelan just said hello. So today, guys, we're talking about some cool stuff. We're talking about social media strategies for business. And we're going to talk about what to start with, what to think about, goals and KPIs, social campaigns, and tips and tools. So who out there runs their own social media or runs social media for businesses? So just pop in the comments if you run it for just yourself or you're running it for other businesses, because we want to know, right? So that's cool. And I'll keep an eye out on those comments. Now, the reason we brought Rena in here is because she's a bloody expert. And it's kind of thrilling because we get on a call before we go live to jump into things. And, I think one of the things that most businesses really struggle with is where to start. So I'm going to put Rena on the spot here really quick and talk about some of the things she does first with her clients. And then we'll all pipe in and get down to it. We got Cody here. Hey, Cody. And Greg is posting questions. We also have a question of the week that somebody posted in, which we'll have to touch on. But Rena, give it to us.
All right. So where I start with my clients is at a discovery meeting. And generally at that point, I will ask for a branding document. If they've already got their logo and website up, generally they should be receiving a branding document from whoever did the first initial branding work. That will help me understand better visually and textually what the social media should look like and feel like and what the voice is like. Then I will also ask them if they have a marketing plan. A social media plan should fit nicely within that marketing plan. And if clients haven't got that organized, then I'll ask for a business plan, because generally they'll have already organized their sales goals for the year or for the quarter, and we'll start to turn that into a marketing / social media plan.
Interesting. Sorry, I just had a sound blip there. And so do you ever struggle, or Greg, let's get your opinion. What do you do first with clients?
I would love to do everything that Rena does. Typically, the clients that I'm working with, they don't have that kind of stuff, so it's like pulling teeth trying to get information out of them. So as much as possible, when I start talking to someone about social media, I will see if they have this type of information that Rena's talking about. And if they don't, we do like just small process goals of, what's your objective on social media? Like, what do we want to accomplish? Where do we want to be? We find out where their customers are and target customers are. So we make sure we choose the right platforms and stuff. But a lot of the time, like I said, they don't have that kind of stuff. So you're really fighting from the start to figure out and get a good game plan in place for them because they don't have that information. So
it's always good to start with something, right? I mean, we've been thrown into the deep end, and it's just we have some clients, and they're like, just take care of it all. And we honestly, we don't have colors, we don't have brand messaging, and it's pretty hard, especially when you're, this brings up a really good point. There were 2 points that I really wanted to get into there, but the first one is working with clients is way better for social media, right? It's a group effort between the client and the marketer. But the other thing that you just mentioned, Greg, which is kind of one of the things that we discussed starting with, which is taking control of your assets online. So doing kind of some SMO/SEO stuff. You guys so one of the first things you guys do is get all those assets together, right? If they don't have them, you were saying something about why you do this and how it helps. Want to dig into that?
Well, I can't really remember exactly what I said the other day, but the why is just if there's not congruency with your brand and your plan, then it's really hard to actually, and you don't have goals, it's really hard to actually talk about return on investment. So if you're really geared towards wanting to know the return on investment, you have to actually have really clear goals, and from the goals, you need to make your KPIs, what you're actually going to. KPIs are key performance indicators, just for those people who don't know. And you want to choose KPIs that match your goals and that you can track. And then your campaign should all be organized to so that you can track those numbers and you're not doing the wrong thing for the wrong KPI. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's really important. So if those things don't add up, then it's really hard. I get clients that do that at the beginning. They'll talk really wishy-washy about their goals, and then when it comes to, well, I'm paying you this money for these services, and what are you doing for me in terms of sales, when sales weren't their initial goal at the beginning. So it's really need, business owners really need to be clear with their marketing people what their goals are, and if they change, which is fair, then that information needs to be translated to your team.
I think when Rena was talking there, I wanted to make a quick distinction, I think, on what I think of social media.
What do you think?
Social media marketing, which is social media is meant to be social. So your business is going to be on the platforms that it wants to be social on or thinks that its target customer is on, so that you can socialize and get in front of those customers. Now, being on social media doesn't mean you're selling something or marketing to those people. You're just engaging with those people. I think of when you think of selling and being able to track KPIs and things for your business goals, you're going to have probably a very low percentage of people where you're just engaging with, and that's not going to be the KPIs. You're going to be tracking more when you're actually marketing on social media using Facebook advertising or the Instagram boosting posts and doing paid stuff on the social channel. I would associate that more with the sales side that a business is going to try to do. Whereas the social aspect is just being social and being on, and you may get a couple of low-hanging fruit sales out of it. But I think the other portion is where you're going to get more sales, and you're going to want to track that stuff.
Interesting. Yes, it's true.
Does that sound like what you would do, or
me?
Is that how you think of it?
Sort of. I agree with definitely where you're coming from with KPIs. So I don't only track sales. I track all of the micro conversions that lead to sales and make sure that there's a funnel organized to get those people from micro conversions to sales. So absolutely, yes, you need to make sure that all of those are laid out. And that's my job to do for a client. A client doesn't necessarily know that. They just have to come with the sales targets. And then, but I include the whole package in social. I don't really see a distinction between running Facebook ads and the way you're performing socially in those spaces, because one of the things that I think is really important is to make your ads not look like ads and to have them so intriguing that people are actually sharing your ads for you, which is, what I think the goal is. I think it's a really big mistake when advertisers get into social media spaces and then make their ads look like ads. Like, I think that's not using, what do we call that? Not using the vernacular, right? We want to use the vernacular of the space that we're in. And I think marketers have kind of ruined, people always complain about ads in social media, and yet one of my clients, we ran a campaign for him in a really difficult arena, which is the Medi-Spa arena, which is contentious, but we got the targeting and the imagery so well down pat that we actually had 25 shares of that content, and it was an outright ad for a procedure. It was not anything, any of the precursor information.
Interesting. So that's a KPI, right? The number of shares could be a KPI.
Exactly. So to me, I consider a lot more in that social bubble than what maybe Greg does, which is a more traditional sort of way of thinking about social.
I'm old school.
Right. Well, there used to be, so in the newspaper, it was repetition is key, right? So there's a 20-to-1 rule. Some people say 6-to-1. It's 6 organic things that you're not selling stuff. You're just showing your expertise, and then 1 sales post kind of thing. But in order to be good at our jobs, we have to measure things, right? We have to measure those KPIs because people aren't going to rehire us. And if you're a good marketer, I think this is where we start to put our effort, right, in that trackability. Greg?
Definitely.
Sorry, I was just going to ask Rena some stuff about how she tracks and if she uses any specific software, but I didn't want to jump ahead, and if you had that further on in our
we're jumping around today. It's cool. We're loving it.
Yeah, so obviously that's a big part is tracking. And so do you have any things that you can suggest to the listeners that would help them with that?
Well, yeah. So first of all, I just want everyone to understand my perspective on social media, which isn't always the same. So lots of people have different approaches. My approach is that all of the social media, and I think, Greg, this is your approach also, but all of the social media should be it should be helping the SEO of your site. Like, all of it should be doing that. There shouldn't be any loose pieces of content that are just created right in Facebook. It should all go in aid of the website, because the website is what clients generally own. It's their asset. So with that in mind, tracking, I use Raven Reports.
Oh.
I like Raven Reports a lot. You can sync Raven Reports to a lot of the main social media platforms. The only one, I'm hoping Raven Reports is listening. Do you think we're that important? Are you listening, Raven Reports? I would like you to get on Instagram. Instagram is the only one that I use regularly for my clients that doesn't connect with Raven Reports, so I do that part manually. And there aren't that many ways of tracking for Instagram. You kind of either have to do it weekly and add it up yourself if you're doing a monthly report. It's kind of a pain in the butt. But generally speaking, I will always look at Facebook Insights for sure. I always look at Raven Reports. I'm so like OCD. I will always check in with Google Analytics just to make sure the numbers are somewhat matched.
Yeah.
And then I look at I lost it. What else? What's the last one? I think that maybe that's it. Maybe it'll come to me later. Sorry.
Oh, good. That was pretty good information, especially that about Instagram. We we've been asked to do Instagram for one client and we have struggled with it. So it is not part of our offering generally. And lots of companies use it. So that's something we come up against. We use Data Studio. And if you guys are out there using any reports or you're doing it manually, let us know because we want to know because it's cool. And Cody's saying he's doing social media for his own business. Jessica was saying she's doing it all. And Gwen just joined us. Hey, guys. So, Greg, do you use any reporting? What do you do?
For the most part, I use just the reporting of whichever platform I'm on because I'm more focusing with my clients on one or two platforms. So it's not like we have three or more and we're trying to pull everything all into one place. Like I said, also my clients thus far for social have not been clients that are super organized, and a lot of the time it's like pulling teeth just getting, some type of a strategy together. They're honestly not thinking about performance and where it's going, which is a shame. I hate even doing it without that, but it's the reality of so far the people that I've been working with.
That brings us to a really good point, which I'm going to drag Rena into this and this brings us back to those KPI and goals. So when we build a strategy, you need to tie goals to your spend, right? And so when you approach clients or when you're doing it for yourself, how do you do that? Like, how are you like, okay, spend $600 and this is your goal and this is your outcome and how do you prove you've hit it?
Right. So I think that's where Raven Reports is great, even if you only do one thing. I actually really encourage everyone to try it because, and I don't have an affiliate link. I wish I did because I love it so much. But the reason why I like it is because I can measure my campaigns against each other in Raven Reports. It will do the whole thing up for me. As long as I set up the campaigns to be identical type campaigns, then the data is quite easy to check from month to month. So generally speaking, I'll either ask my clients to commit to a monthly ad spend, or if they're doing one campaign with me where there's a beginning date and an end date, then we'll have a budget amount for that. And then so if it's a campaign that only runs for 2 months, then maybe I'll choose to show the report weekly. Not show the report weekly, but track the report weekly so that they can see how we did. I definitely look in on my ads every few days, but for the monthly ones, it's much easier and it really depends on the client. Some clients are so consistent in their offerings and this type of business that they have that looking at it performance month to the previous month works. Other clients have these like weird little sort of ups and downs in their business. They'll have periods where they have lots of interest and then periods where there is no interest, and it has more to do with I have a swimming lessons. So, they start their swim lessons in September. So obviously August is super busy and then there's not much happening in October. So that client, we will organize to look at it year over year. It makes more sense. So it really just depends.
I like that. So explain, let's kind of, I know we're all in this together and I know we all do social media, but let's explain just for ease sake what a campaign is like, because is that the full strategy if you're doing for a full year, or is it kind of the seasonal, or is it a mixture?
Well, I think of it now, I didn't go to marketing school per se, so I could be wrong, but I look at campaigns as being individual goals that we want to do with one particular product or service, and it has a start time and a finish time, and it works within the overall strategy. So the strategy generally for my clients, strategy is yearly. I don't know if anyone does 5-year strategies. I'm sure it's possible, but I think bigger companies would maybe look at that. But in a 1-year strategy, there would be multiple campaigns that go in that 1-year strategy. And sorry, was there a second part to that question, or did I finish?
That was a really good answer. Really good answer. I am digging that. What do you guys think? Do you guys do campaigns, Greg? Do you do like a year strategy? What are you doing?
No, not really. It's again, it's the nature of the clients that I have. They want to be there and they are there, but it's like getting them to the next step to be organized is like pulling teeth. I do it as much as possible, try to get them together and individually I am, behind the scenes doing my own work and creating campaigns for them based on what I believe they want, but the direction is not typically coming from my customer. It's coming from me suggesting to them, listen, this is what we should be doing for your business. So let me do it kind of thing.
Right.
And just to go back on what I think a campaign is a campaign for me is the pushing a specific product or any specific goal within your overall strategy. So, like I said, it could be a campaign to sell a specific product. It could be a campaign to get more likes on Facebook. But whatever it is, whatever the individual tasks are that you've identified in your strategy that you're trying to do, you would have each of those individual things as a separate campaign to work towards that goal.
Right. Right. Yeah. And there's launch campaigns too, right? So it's not just but so there's a lot to think about. Can you guys, is there anything that you would suggest, or anyone listening, is there anything you would suggest that somebody think about, what they're going to think about when they're creating their overall strategy for their business? Go.
It sounded like you were asking the people watching.
No, I'm asking them. I'm asking you. I'm asking everybody. So tell me.
What was it exactly?
What, like, if we were gonna, like, say you're meeting somebody for the first time and they're starting to grill you about marketing because they know you're a marketing expert, and they asked you, what are the things that you think are important to think about when creating a strategy?
The entire strategy? Okay. The entire strategy, not a campaign.
Yeah, not a campaign. Sorry, switch the topic.
Okay, so when you're considering your strategy, you definitely have to consider your, as mentioned before, your goals and how you're going to decide that those, if you've met those goals. So your KPIs are how you decide you've met those goals. Then you need to have some ad budget, generally speaking, somewhere. I like ad budget. You don't have to, but it takes more time, I find, to do the same work without an ad budget. Even a minimal one is great. And then you have to decide deciding after what your goals are. Then you have to decide what tools, where you're going to put those campaigns. So you might do some campaigns that are exclusively in Facebook. You might decide to implement other types of spaces. One of the things that I'm having a lot of success with right now are Facebook groups. I think that that's a really great space. So I would consider groups as part of the strategy.
Interesting. So would you recommend, like, I've seen my brother started his own little community group. He's in Toronto. He's a real estate agent, but he works in a certain area. And I think it's just incredible what he's doing, right? Because it's like a tiny group, really focused, and it's based on his community. So is that what you're suggesting, or is it just make it for business owners to make comments in other groups?
Both. I think being active in groups is really helpful. The more active you are, it's so strange. The more active you are, people think that you really know what you're talking about. So they'll likely ping you on the messenger side of it to ask you more in-depth questions, which helps build relationships. So yeah.
Groups for me on Facebook or even LinkedIn are places where people go join looking for help, typically. So if the business owner can be in the appropriate group where he sells or provides services that would help people looking for information in that group and can socialize with them and answer questions, there's opportunity for the business owner to get business out of that. It's just the natural way to use those forums.
Right? Mona just dropped in. So, hey, Mona. And I just put Cody's comment on the screen. Cody's saying it's important to know who they are, like who you are as a client. Like I know, yeah, one of the things is we try to get a feel for who the business owner is and try to build that into the strategy. But I wanted to quickly jump back into this group conversation because are you asking the business owner to take part in the groups, or are you doing it for them?
For me, it depends on the group. So let me see.
I mean,
Yes.
obviously, I can answer this one quick because I do some stuff for law firms.
Ooh.
I'm not lawyers, so I'm not going to be in a group where people are asking for legal advice. They would have to be in there. So there's limitations to what we as the social media managers can do for the business. But in the same respect, there are other places that we could be to have the business highlighted that we don't need that expertise. So
I like that. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Full agreement. Yeah. You guys are in full agreement a lot.
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
I want to jump in because, okay, so, we're going to go a little bit over today, guys. And that's just reality because it's a good conversation. But we have a question from Karen that I really want to hit on. And it's about content strategy. How do you get quality content from small businesses? Right?
Right. So it really depends on business. We like to write a lot for our clients. So we have clients that will rely on us completely for writing. Okay. I have other clients where I'll sit down and talk to them over the phone for about 15 minutes to a half an hour and do an interview style session where I can write from that. Other clients prefer to write their own material and have us copy edit it. Regardless, we come up with the content calendar at the beginning of the year so that we're all straight on what's happening and when. So that's the most important part. If you're starting to blog, sketch out your year, and you want to breadcrumb your blog posts to match your campaign. So if you're going to be trying to sell, life insurance, then you want to be blogging about why life insurance is so great before you start asking for people to sign up.
Yeah. And so you're directing people to sign up to their email list from social. Is that one of the things you're doing?
That's one of the things. Not so much. I tend to notice that people on social prefer to get their information from social, especially the younger crowd. The older crowd tend to really still like to get stuff in their inbox. So it really depends on the client, and honestly, everything is dependent on the client, the industry, and what the goals are.
Well, so that's a really interesting point, is that, I noticed on your website, you said your social media strategies are all custom, right? Yeah. They are custom. So, and here's another question. I think Cody will really like this question because he's just building his business now. But I find, we charge a setup fee when we get a new campaign. Now, we're mostly working in AdWords and stuff. And the reason that is because it's a lot of work. And I build my own content calendar, and that's a lot of work. But so that's upfront work. So are you charging more in the beginning and then doing recurring revenue across for the rest of the year? Or how does that work for you? And you too. Well,
it really depends. For me, it depends on the client. It depends on the client budget mostly. So if they don't have, typically the answer is yes. I want the answer to always be yes. But that's not always the case. And in that case, what we tend to do is we'll flush something out about a month and a half in advance and get the client involved that way, because sometimes clients just can't see a year in advance, and then they get completely sidetracked. Planning is not great for all entrepreneurs. I feel what Greg says a lot. I still have a lot of clients that are more moment to moment with almost everything, but yes, in a good if you want a really great package with me, yes, you're going to pay a little bit to get the content calendar organized, to go over all of your social assets and make sure that they're up to date and doing what they need to be doing in accordance to your branding guide or your brand or whatever it is. We make sure that that's all done first, because there's no point in doing social if your assets look terrible, and you just need to get that organized. That's all.
On that note, before I let Greg hop in, I just want to give a shout out to Greg about Greg doing the wicked graphics. Wicked graphics, people. Greg does those. I mean, I add them. That's totally the hard part. But just so you know, this is not where I'm strong. And Greg pulls it together here for us. So, yeah. Greg, what about you? Do you charge a setup fee?
Yeah, typically I'll have a setup fee and then a reoccurring monthly based on, and every customer will be different because each one has different goals. So it's it's loosely based off of how many channels they want to be on, how long it will take to set up each channel, optimize it for their business, just to have it ready.
Right.
And then the reoccurring will be contingent on how much engagement they want, how much content we're putting out on a weekly, monthly basis. If they require us to do content calendars, then I would factor that into whatever I'm quoting for their social media package. I treat paid social advertising completely separate from that, because I feel, like I said in the beginning, I feel social media, I treat social media mostly as engagement, and I treat digital marketing or the paid advertising aspect of it as a separate thing. So I bulk paid advertising, whether it be on Google Ads or on a social channel, as a paid advertising package.
Yeah, we do that too. We encompass it. We do use some of the creative that we've done for organic posts as paid. So Cody's saying the graphics look great. The last topic we're going to hit on before we go, and yeah, it's going to be a few more minutes, people, which is awesome, but we're going to talk about tips and tools. So, because we all use different tools to manage our social media. I mentioned when I was talking to Rena, and she went and checked it out. She's like, "Oh, I love this!" And yes, it is killer. It's one of our secret sauces, which of course we're willing to share. Which is we use something called Snipply, and so that's one of the tools we use. Go check it out, because I'm not going to tell you more, right? But there's other things like Hootsuite, Buffer. Rena mentioned Raven Reports. I mentioned Data Studio. Do you guys have any others or any quick tips before we move out of here?
I think you mentioned the ones that I use, so I don't have any
what
other.
What do you use?
I use Hootsuite for some. I use Buffer for some.
Okay, free accounts or paid?
Most of the people I'm working with only have 2, maybe 3 accounts at most. So depending on how many I can get in whichever, I'll go with the free one.
Right. Okay. I like that. And are you going to check out Raven Reports, you think?
I will definitely check out Raven Reports.
I'm going to go check that out. Rena, do you have any other ones? Like, I know you use Instagram more, and I don't. Got any for that? Yeah, tell me more.
Yeah, so we usually use Hootsuite to schedule Instagram in advance if we need to do any scheduling. I use Hootsuite for Twitter for scheduling tweets. I schedule directly in Facebook because that's better.
Yeah.
And if you want to know why, ask me in the comments and I'll answer later.
Okay.
And if this, then that. But that's a more complicated one. I don't recommend using it unless you're really comfortable with digital stuff, because not all of the I think they're called applets. Not all of the applets actually are functioning. It's a crowdsourced space, so you're limited by the abilities of the people that have created the applets.
Yeah, I struggled with IFT.
Yeah.
right? So, but we all use different tools. So make sure, everybody, that you ask Rena why, in the comments, why is it better to go directly and schedule your post in Facebook? Because I want to know. So if you don't type it in there, I'm going to type it in there. And I think that's it. Do we have any more things to tell people besides where they can find us?
I was gonna say one last thing, which I think is most important for social, and I told you guys this was be social.
Right?
Don't be on there and don't do anything because that could hurt your business by being on there. And this is I remember when we were talking pre live the other day, and Rena, you were saying and I agree with this in securing each of your handles.
Yeah.
And I was I while I agree with it from a perspective of, well, if we're going to use it, I want to make sure it's secured. As long as it can be like turned off, and not seen at all, because I wouldn't want to have a social platform that you've secured your handle for, but you're not doing anything, but it can be found. I would think that would be bad. That's why typically I will only secure the platforms that the business decides to go on.
Interesting.
And another tip would be and I don't know if you do this for management, is I try to get the customer to create like an email account that I would have access to, like sm at their domain.com, that they would get and I would get to, and use a consistent company email and password across the platforms, so it's easy to be able to get in and manage everything.
We recommend that with pay-per-click stuff, right? Because you don't want to use your personalized email and then you've gotten one of your people that work with you to go in there, and it can cause a lot of problems. So that is a huge tip. I wanted to add that one thing I'm finding with the social media accounts that we do, when we go on location, we'll take lots of pictures and we post those throughout the month, and those seem to bump us up on those accounts. Like that real life, just an iPhone photo of in the shop is really fun, and it's so much more engaging for some reason versus Greg's got a client that likes perfection. But you find that too, Rena?
Oh yeah, absolutely. People are I'm more intrigued on knowing what the sort of, the less polished, less branded, what's going on behind the scenes, like what's going on right now, what's going on behind the scenes. That's way more interesting a lot of the time. So usually, and here's another tip, usually I'll use one of those right before I want to do a sales pitch, because your algorithm will be bumped up and then you hit them with the thing you want them to do.
Right. Ooh, that's smart. I like that. So guys, that's probably it for us. We went over time. Rena, I'm going to drill her and say, hey, Rena, you're offering something right now for people. What is it?
Okay, so this is, we have a 12 and 24 week one-to-one customized social media training that we offer always. But right now, people who are in British Columbia and have a registered business with a civic license can get access to BC employer grant funds, and our course is vetted for that. So if you're interested in getting 60% off your social media training, now is the time. And I think I have, well, actually, I don't think, I definitely have a page information on my website under the menu item training.
Awesome. And we're going to link that below. Greg and I, we're just, well, for me anyway, I shouldn't speak for Greg, but I don't have anything I'm offering. We're off to a conference in a couple weeks, so that's our focus, getting the blogs out. Greg, you got anything?
Do I ever?
Right? Right? And so next week, guys, we're talking about Greg. Do you know?
Yeah.
What?
I know because we didn't touch on it today, and we thought we might because we had this little discussion on whether or not it's social.
It is social.
We are doing a Google My Business deep dive.
Deep dive. Okay, and guys, I don't know about you, but I had so much fun today, and I'm gonna ask Rena to come back probably once every 4 months to jump in here on a chat with us, to make it real and make it fun. So expect to see her again, right? Okay.
Thanks.
All right. So everybody say bye. I'm going to end it. Bye, guys. Thank you for joining.
Bye.
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 Thanks.